The Villain's Demand reviews Captain America Civil War. Longing, rusted, furnace, daybreak, 17, benign, 9, homecoming, 1, freight car.
Ready to comply.
Mission report, May 6, 2016.
Hey guys, this is The Villain's Demand. I'm Evan the Great. This is Justin Von Doom. Today we're going to bring you a movie review over Captain America Civil War. Whose side are you on? Team Stark.
That's right. Overall, I thought this was a really good entry into the, I guess now we could say, trilogy for the Captain America movies. It's very action-packed. It's got a great story. It does a really good job of flipping those around. And for 2.5 hours, to me, it didn't even seem like an hour.
No.
And overall, I give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, me too. No dead spots in the movie.
Oh, definitely no dead spots. Under, like, you know, that Batman vs. Superman.
It didn't have any dead spots. I would say almost all of the movie was epic. Every scene. There was a few things wrong. They dropped the ball a couple times, but the epicness outweighs that, and I think it overall still scored, to me, one of the best Marvel movies ever. I can't say it's the best ever because I'm still an Avengers fan, just because it was the first time they ever put a superhero team on film, and I'll never get over that. But this just did a really good job.
Well, you say best ever, and like I've told some people, and I've got a couple friends that still have not seen it. Shame on you, as much as we talk about them. I did not even think this is better than Winter Soldier. To me,
Winter Soldier was amazing.
Yes, Winter Soldier was amazing. And what I liked about it is, with Winter Soldier, you didn't know how it was going to end, because in comic book movies, particularly like with Marvel movies, a lot of times, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the villain usually dies.
Yeah.
And with, you know, Winter Soldier, you didn't really know what was going to happen with Bucky, even though, I mean, you kind of know that, okay, yeah, well, he signed on for so many movies, you know, to be Bucky. Yeah. But, you know, there's always flashbacks with that, and you wasn't really sure. And then Civil War is already a story grounded deeply into a comic book series, and you already have a clue of how that's going to end, and you know they're not going to kill off any of your big major players.
Yeah.
So to me, in a sense, I did think Winter Soldier was better than this.
Yep. Like I said, it's still a very good film. There was tons and tons of new characters. There's returning characters. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but I think the first thing we're going to talk about is the title.
Yes, I've brought this up to even on our Facebook page. If you haven't followed that, you should, because we need a lot more people.
Yeah.
A lot more people to engage in conversation. But to me, and I'm sure you agree, we believe that the title should have been Avengers Civil War, not Captain America Civil War, because, okay, I understand that, you know, this is basically about Bucky. And so you kind of name it the Cap side, because Bucky has been the escalation for the Sokovia Accords, which is basically the Superhuman Registration Act, if you don't read comics. And I understand calling it Captain America Civil War, but you've got basically the whole of heroes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, mainly the Avengers.
Yes. So
we believed that it should have been called Avengers Civil War.
I agree.
So, but to get that out of the way, there's a lot of stuff to talk about in this movie. It's very, very character-driven, even though there's a very overwhelming plot that, you know, the world's closing in on the heroes. So, we're going to start with the new guys, and the one guy I knew you were really excited about, you've been a fan of him for a very, very long time, Black Panther.
Yep. Put your seatbelts on, guys, because you're going to see me get excited. Black Panther He is so well written. He looks cool. I love his history. He's from Wakanda. He's wealthy. He's really got what you think a king or a ruler would have. The way his character is portrayed in this, it hits every one of those nails on the coffin.
Very sophisticated.
Yes. He's a sophisticated human being. He's very intelligent. That's what everybody always forgets. Like, why do you like a character like that? He's like Captain America, or he's like Batman. That's incorrect. He is so much more different than them because of his way of living, his society, where they're at, the way that they're governed and ruled.
The way that the king being on his
shoulders. So amazing. And this guy they got to play, my man, did he blow it away. because you got this almost like a pretty boy-esque king ruler, and then you see him fight, and I'm like, holy crap. And then there's a lot of things we'll talk about that goes on in the story that make him into the Panther, the Black Panther. But I'm sorry, I got to keep going.
No, keep going. But get it out.
Just the way he is, and then on top of that, the way his suit is, what it's made out of, the fabrics, the cloth,
vibranium.
And when you see him lock in with Bucky, I think Bucky's the first one he fights.
Yeah, basically. Well, there's the big chase. So
you just see like, holy crap, and see him running. You're like, this dude is fast. This dude is powerful. And when he fights Cap, when he grabs his shield, they show it on the commercial 1,000 times.
Yeah, and he does.
Captain America is just blown away. Like, holy crap, this guy's as strong as I am. But man, what a job well done.
Yeah. He actually turned out better than what I was expecting for character-wise. If you read the comics, you know, he's very martial artist based, which, I mean, I know you say that a lot about a lot of characters, but his was a lot of jumping around from time to time.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about the first time you see him in action, the whole rooftop fight. And it was really cool because I shoot him with the helicopters, and he just kind of looks at him like, really?
Yeah.
You know, and then you see the bullet ricocheting off of him because of his vibranium armor. And then, what I thought was the most impressive watching him fight was after all that, when they're in the car, I guess you could call it a car chase, because Captain America eventually gets in a car, and just watching what he does, because he realizes, well, Steve's going to catch him quicker than I am, so he, instead of trying to run, he jumps on the car, and then he's on the motorcycle, then he grabs Falcon, you know, he's strategically doing all this to catch him up instead of, you know, saving his own energy.
Yes.
And it was really nice to see a side of a character that wasn't all just like try to catch him and fight him, but take my time and let everybody do the work for me to get up there. So, you know, they favor him as one of the 8 smartest people in the Marvel Universe, and they kind of really show it combat-wise right there. What I was kind of upset even with his character, because after this, people are stoked, even myself, for the movie coming out. I was hoping maybe you'd see something of Claw in there, but, you know, you don't see that. I mean, even a mention of that, because when they bring up the Sokovia Accords and everything that's happening, the big things that's happened in the movies, you figured maybe he would have mentioned Claw to the Avengers since they ran into him in Age of Ultron. I was kind of hoping for some of that, but it didn't kill the movie at all to me. But overall, perfect casting, perfect portrayal of the character who's basically bent on revenge when his father dies, and then realizes that being a king and just being a human being himself, you cannot live like that.
Nope.
To me, he really, in a sense, grounded the movie in what the movie was kind of going for. That, you know, it's not all about heroes all the time, it's about being human.
Yes.
Because you would expect him, any person in his position, you would expect, you know, to kill Zemo when he caught him.
Yes.
But calm prevails, he realizes it's time to be a king instead of, you know, wanting revenge. And it's really nice.
That's one of my favorite parts is whenever, because I was like, he's going to kill him, and I was like, no, he's not going to kill him. He's going to make him suffer for his crimes that he's committed. And it's very king-like. But that pretty much hits everything on Black Panther.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I got a few more things
I do. Well, the main thing, and we brought this up, is it was Zemo. He gets Zemo at the end of the movie, and he knows what's going on between Bucky, Cap, and Iron Man in the building that they're in. Why doesn't he go back to stop it?
I don't know. Maybe because that was they're talking about him, and you know, maybe he wanted to make sure that Zemo didn't go nowhere because he's going to make sure he pays for his crimes. Maybe that's what stopped him. But he probably could have just tied him up somewhere and went in there.
No, yeah, you know, in typical superhero fashion.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I was expecting, because he knows that it's a setup, and he sees that Zemo has like fulfilled what he wanted to fill, and so he stops him before he can kill himself. So you would think that after he gives the thing about, you know, he's tired of revenge, you know, this is madness, blah 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 blah. Figured he'd went in there and tried to stop them, but also I understand it from the point of being now the ruler of Wakanda. You know, he always tries to, from time to time in the comics, try to stay out of the affairs of the world and more worried about his kingdom. So I could see coming from that point of view what it is. But being the Sokovia Accords, and I'm assuming that he has signed them at this point in the movie, that he would have went and stopped that. Especially, technically, Iron Man wasn't even supposed to be there, so...
No, he wasn't. I forgot about him not supposed to be there.
No.
But, I mean, like I said, that's basically everything on the Panther. But one last thing on Black Panther that I think they're going to do, this is a possibility, I might as well throw it in while we're talking about him, is at the end of the movie, he puts Bucky in his protection and puts him back under stasis and puts him away. I see this as a big, maybe this is what they're going to do in the Black Panther film. Maybe Zemo gets out and he goes and hires Claw to break Bucky out because he wants his to return.
But would Zemo know that he's there?
I don't know. That's what I think.
Black Panther in the state of Wakanda.
I think it might be a thing that's going to go down.
One thing, since you brought that up, and one thing I didn't realize that they could have done is Wakanda is like the most scientific, intelligent country in the world.
Yes.
You figured he would have had a way to undo the brainwashing that Hydra had done to Bucky.
Yeah, he might be working on it.
So maybe that's something that
they said they got to fix me, Cat.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that, that and his arm.
Yeah.
So maybe that is something they're going to touch on in the Black Panther movie, because right now you're not getting another Captain America movie or an Avengers movie until the Infinity War starts. Yeah. So, I mean, somewhere in there you would assume that they're going to fix that and Black Panther would be the guy to do it. Especially since he realized how Bucky was being used just like they were by Zemo.
Yeah.
So you figure maybe that would be his way, to show him, hey, I'm sorry, and to fix him.
I agree. But our next character we're going to talk about is, we've all been waiting, especially this guy, Spidey, or Spider-Man.
Or Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Whew, man, been a long time Spider-Man fan since I was a kid. I was very excited, like the whole world was, when Sony finally teamed up with Marvel. So Fox, hopefully you take a page out of this, which eventually in time I believe they will.
Yeah.
And some of my friends, I haven't got your opinion on this because we have not talked about any of this yet. So
that's what's fun about doing these.
Yes. I thought he was the perfect Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. They nailed it.
Yes. I enjoy the fact that they made him young.
Yep.
And in a sense, being young and being a teenager, it was almost like Spider-Man was a fan of heroes just in general.
Yeah.
Just how excited he was during the big fight at the airport. His cue to Star Wars where he ties up Ant-Man, who, spoiler alert, turns into the Giant Man. And he's talking about the AT-ATs on Hoth.
Yeah.
I thought that was really awesome. I think they did a really good job of portraying him as a teenager, because if you look at the last two installments that we've had of Spider-Man, I thought Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Horrible Spider-Man. And then vice versa for Andrew Garfield. And I think that Holland really nailed the character. And the only problem I have with him, which he says he's been doing this for 6 months now, is they really at times seem like they would play on the spider sense.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they wouldn't. For all we know, he doesn't have the spider, like he doesn't realize it's there. Because
that might be it.
He talks about how his senses were dialed up to 11, and he's got the goggles. Tony's, they're talking about it. But to me, you see bits and pieces of it, especially when he's chasing Falcon and Bucky in the terminal, and it looks like Bucky hurls a car door at him. I'm not really sure what that was. And then he just turns around and hurls it right back at him, almost a pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a showing of it being there.
Yeah.
And then when you fight Captain America, which Captain America is extremely more combat effective than he is, you kind of don't see it where you would expect it.
Yeah.
So, but overall, amazing job. I'm really looking forward to Homecoming when it comes out. And, man, well, I cannot explain how excited I was over Spider-Man.
Yeah, he delivered. Some of my favorite things about Spidey, it's hard to, he basically took them all, but there's a few other things.
Black Panther, man, this is about
there's a few other Spider-Man things I really enjoyed. The number one thing I enjoyed is how not only did they make him a teenager, he acts like a teenager.
Exactly.
And the things he says are teenagerish, and I really like when they display his power level, which we talk about different things on characters. Bucky goes to punch him, and he catches his fist. And he's like, what the hell are you?
Yeah, well, I like that where he's like, whoa, you got a metal arm, and that's so cool. You know.
It's just things he can do that he don't know he can do already, and then he's like, whoa. And I think Tony finding him and going in his room, that's a really cool scene.
Yes.
And he's all like, how do you do these webs? And he gets this thing out. Hey, how do you get that? Oh, there's a suit in here. He's there.
You see the science bonding part of the characters.
And he used that to an advantage to kind of lure Peter in. And they use him just enough because Tony still knows he's a kid. He uses him just enough, and then he's like, go home, kid, you're done.
It's also his downfall in the end, which was really cool. Because if you read Civil War, this is kind of the turning point for Civil War because Spider-Man unmasked himself. And you really know that's not going to happen here. But, yeah. Oh, what did you forget?
They switched it. Spider-Man didn't unmask. Panther did in this one. Whenever he took it off, and they're like, "Oh, that's the Wakanda king."
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
I forgot to say that.
Kind of right. Yeah, no. Another part that comes with Peter Parker's character is Aunt May, who has caused a bit of controversy for her look. Your typical Aunt May looks like she's late 70s, early 80s, white hair, always in a really old person's dress. Well, you get an Aunt May that Tony Stark is hitting on in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of humorous to see that type of interaction between heroes because you normally don't get that.
That was cool how they did that and how he introduced. He's basically going in as like, hey, I got this scholarship that I'm going to give Peter and all sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny, and then he's also talking about how oddly attractive she is.
Yeah.
And I would assume that he's kind of hinting that maybe she's older than him, movie-wise, which I would probably assume they're about the real age in real life. But getting on that, I believe she's like 52, so she's literally old enough to be an aunt, or maybe based on Peter's age, which I'm going to assume is like maybe 16.
Yeah.
That she would be, I mean, she could be even, something more than his aunt. Which, in the end, if we, doing that based on his age and her age, what she would be, because, it's just his parents' sister, if I'm right. He, or however they're going to play this, she should look like that. She shouldn't look like a withered old lady based on his age. I mean, in the comics, I understand it's always been like that, but, if you're making a movie and you want a movie, but movies are based on a reality. I mean, that's something you would go with.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a big enough problem to complain about based on that. But it has made for some great memes on the internet. Oh my God! Have you seen the stripper one?
No.
Man, she's in a movie where she plays a stripper, and they've got that, and she's all got her ass in a dude's face, and it's like after Uncle Ben died. Poor Aunt May did whatever she could to support Peter. Man, it's funny. If you've seen that, check it out. I've shared it on our page a couple times. It's hilarious. But based on that, your main villain in the movie is Baron Zemo. He's not your typical Baron Zemo that we all know. That's pink mask, fluffy, woolly clothes. He's very military grounded.
Yes.
All in all, my own opinion, I think this is probably the bad part of the movie, in my opinion. I know, like we were just talking about Aunt May's age and being real. I understand wanting to get away sometimes with that in heroes and villains. But even if you look at the other villain, which we'll get into, Crossbones in this movie, there's not such realism there. I mean, you look at what's on his arms. I don't wish they would have done that with Zemo. And when I'm getting to where this was almost a waste of a villain, what they used him for to achieve in this movie could have been achieved on its own without him. Yeah. Because you look at the Sokovia Accords, they were already coming into a play. And he framed Bucky, the Winter Soldier, and that's what really pushed it, but they were already sitting there. You really didn't need him to do that. Yeah. So in a way, it was really only to draw Bucky into the movie, which that's where we was talking about the title where you would get it a Captain America movie. And even in the end, where in the ending, which everybody's seen the big fight between Bucky and Cap and Iron Man, where he reveals the mission log. I mean, I really don't even think you needed that to bring the rift between Cap and Iron Man at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
It's something he could have easily figured out on his own because Cap knew. Because he's a piece of shit and didn't tell his friend. Like good friends should do. That's why we're on Team Stark here, people. So, but overall, I thought Zemo was a waste of a villain based on that right there. They could have saved him for a Captain America movie because you look at Red Skull, Winter Soldier. Zemo's still, I think, one of the big classic Captain America villains that they hadn't used. They used him this. They could have used him for something else.
Correct. I do like Zemo's plot twist a little bit, but like he said, the same thing could have been achieved without him in there. Maybe they should have saved him. But Crossbones is the better of the villains.
I agree.
The opening scene is amazing. When he fights Captain America, it's awesome because you got this guy who's powered up now. He's ready to kill Cap, and he's got all these tricks in the bag, and he gives Cap a run for his money.
Yeah, he does. And what's great is they've been doing this for a while, ever since Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because they've been trying to capture him. His looked really good, and
real cool.
compared to what we were just talking about Zemo, where they just used him as a soldier from Sokovia. I like how he knew he could not physically go toe to toe with Captain America, so he's almost got like the hydraulic punch thing on his arm, almost like a rocket punch that a mech would have. Yeah. Since to use the fighting, I was hoping maybe they would play him up more and save him for like a return of Red Skull, but they didn't. That kind of disappointed me that they killed him. But more importantly, what I was hoping they would use him for, because before the movie came out, they announced that they were going to do a Punisher series. Crossbones is a very good character to use against Frank Castle.
Yeah.
I mean, they've crossed paths before. They've got those same type of military background. So, I mean, there are characters that are the same that would actually go really good against each other. But in his death is what really sets the movie off. So, in a way, he really served his purpose. But I just really thought that they cut the character way too soon.
Yep. And that's what they've done with, during that fight scene, is kind of where the movie escalates, is where Scarlet Witch tries to hold an explosion together, and while doing so, to try to push it away from the city, blows the side of a building up and kills a bunch of people.
Yeah, and that's what kind of really sets everything off with the Sokovia Accords. So, with that, with the rest of our review, man, it's probably going to get real mixed up because you've got all these characters, and there's a lot of interaction with these characters. Like I said, the movie has a great plot, but it's very, very character-driven because you've got, you got 10 characters, heroes fighting each other in this movie. So it drives the movie a lot, and, like the whole thing's been saying, whose side are you on? So, I think the biggest thing to start with, which will lead into the future of these movies, is Scarlet Witch, the Vision, and the Mind Gem.
Yeah.
Care to start?
Yeah. You got anybody that's watched any of the other Marvel movies, they got all these gems. There's one like Guardians of the Galaxy. There's one they put this one in Vision's head, and
from Age of
Ultron,
which has been Loki's staff from Avengers.
All these Infinity Gems, they have huge cosmic powers, and everybody knows that Thanos is chasing these things. He's getting them, and he's putting them in his gauntlet. That's what the thing behind it is. But it helps power the Vision, and then you got Stark, and you got Tony Stark, my bad, and you got the Vision, and you got Scarlet Witch. And then after they come up with the Soviet Accords, he puts the Vision basically on watch her, make sure she don't leave. And there's a point in the movie where I think Barton shows up. Is that where she decides that she's going to leave? Mm-hmm. And he does something to him, and she actually holds the Vision down. Now, for him to have an Infinity Gem in his forehead, and for her to have the power to hold him at her will down like that, it really showcases how powerful she is when you know how powerful the Vision is. He shot War Machine down with one blast.
Okay, so...
And you could probably break it in a little more.
Well, I don't know what I was... Okay, what I was getting at with this, we was talking about this before we got started, because to me, this is a big part of the movie. Like I said, it'll play to the future of these movies, what this whole universe is, like, leaning towards. But, the mind gem is what gave her and Quicksilver her powers.
I forgot about that. That's right. We was trying to get on.
And then Vision is what brought the mind gem is what brought him to life.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice when she is sitting there? Because I'm assuming she's manipulating the mind gem. Because if you notice, the mind gem turns the color of her. I'm going to just call it hex power, like it is in the comics. Did you notice it changed the color to what her power is?
I'm going to watch it again and never noticed that.
And then I'm assuming what she does with that is where this entire time, to this point, you have seen him go intangible. She makes him dense. And literally uses the power of the mind gem to make him dense. And then with her own power from the mind gem to shove him to, who knows. He probably went and met Mephisto as far as he was going down to the hells. So, I didn't realize, I was saving that and wanted to know if, did you notice
I never noticed that. That's good.
Yes, yeah. You said you were going to watch it again tomorrow?
I plan on it.
Yes.
I want to look for that.
Just pay attention to that, because she hits him and you notice it changes color in his head. It's the color of her powers. So, yeah, so my question is, so we all know Thanos is coming. You brought it up. He's collecting these gems when this happens. So if he plucks the mind gem from Vision, is it going to kill him? That's what everybody's wanting to know.
I don't know. I think it will kill him at first, and then they're going to, because there's another character who's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. He winds up being in the Vision's body, and I don't know. Maybe they're going to do something with that. Okay. But her being able to manipulate that, is she going to be able to manipulate Thanos when it's in the gauntlet?
That's what I was just about to say. Or when Thanos takes that gem, does he manipulate her, or does it siphon her powers from her and she's powerless?
Wow, that'd be interesting. It's a good point.
It is a good point, because I really don't think you've seen, out of the 4 gems they've shown, I don't think you've never seen so much play on one of them until that moment. And so it's really, to me, significant to what this Infinity War is building up to. So, if you haven't noticed that, I'm pretty sure you can find somewhere on the internet just to watch that scene. Or if you're going to rewatch it, pay attention to that, because it changes the color of her power when she takes down the Vision.
Yeah.
The other part with that is you really start to see the relationship between Vision and Wanda grow. And for all you guys that don't know, in the comics, at one time they were married.
Yep.
So I'm wondering how that's going to play into the future, because even after the big airport battle, you still see that he still cares for her.
It is so cool too. I guess I could say I'm pro Android, because he's not real. I mean,
that makes you sound like you're into some freaky stuff from Japan.
I don't care. I like Vision and her relationship. It's really cool the way they did it, and it's just weird because I'm thinking. Because obviously she starts becoming attracted to him, and I'm like the whole time I'm like he's a robot, but I guess it's cool at the same time. But when he's on the battlefield with her, you can tell, like he said, he cares about her. He tries to stop things from happening to her. He don't want her to get hurt. That's his whole program. But through this thing, I noticed that you see the Vision start gaining almost human-like characteristics about how he feels for things. And that's something you didn't see in the first time you seen him in Ultron. The way he talks and stuff, he's almost changing.
Yeah, and that's a big thing about his character in the comics is, eventually he starts to experience emotion, and like even though there's some physical things that he cannot do because he's cooking for her, he's trying all he can do to comfort her, because she has really been a focal point of the Sokovia Accords. I mean, it even shows after it happens where she's watching the news and they're talking about her. And when they have the meeting with Ross, General Thunderbolt Ross, she's even a focal point there, because Cap's like, turn the TV off. Because, she's just visually, you can tell she's upset about it. So, and his whole thing is to watch her and to comfort her. So right there, even though you see the relationship play out for him, you also see that Tony realizes these are the 2 heaviest hitters on their team, and he's trying to neutralize one with the other.
Yeah.
Another thing, since we got into that scene with the mind gem, I want to bring up is Hawkeye. Hawkeye doesn't have a big role until about halfway into this movie. I'd probably say even in the last hour is where it finally shows up. They don't really have a big role either. But one thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you've realized this, and it's kind of in this movie where you really start to see where I was gathering it from, is in a sense, to me, he's almost the Wolverine of the Avengers in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you know anything about Wolverine, with some of the younger X-Men females, he's almost like a father figure to him. Rogue, X-23, Jubilee. And with Hawkeye, Hawkeye took Black Widow under his wing. You see that in the first Avengers movie. And then after Age of Ultron, seeing what happened to Quicksilver, how he sacrificed himself to save Bart, Bart has really seemed to taken Wanda under his wing too. You kind of see that also in Age of Ultron, where he's talking about, you can go out there, die, or you can be an Avenger and we can do this. So he almost seems like he's the father figure for all these young Avengers, because for one, he has kids. He's the only guy, of the Avengers that has kids. He's got a family. So it's really, you're talking about roles that characters are playing and relationships, and this is another relationship that's developing in these movies.
I never thought about it like that. He said that, but that's definitely what he's doing. Because I even said, why is he in this movie? And then he said that, that's why he's in this movie.
Because you've got to, you've got to have, this movie's all about bonds.
Yes.
Bonds being formed, bonds being broken. And I thought that was maybe a bond that was very overshadowed that not a lot of people might have not seen.
Yep.
Because, when these happen, when the Sokovia Accords happen, you don't see him. He's not around, and then you just hear that he's retired, and all of a sudden he's back. So, in a sense, it's a good reason, and you just show how strong Clint's bond is to Wanda and Cap, and even with the fight in the airport, and you see he hates fighting Black Widow, because he doesn't want to, because he cares about her. So, he's one of these characters that really strike forward with trying to hold a bond together through the hard times.
As we move on, going through all the movie, there's a lot more points we're going to nail, but we're going to start with this one. It's mainly about Iron Man, Tony Stark, and two separate things. At the end of the movie, everybody knows that Zemo shows a video of Bucky killing his mom and dad, and it sets Tony off, and he tries to kill Bucky. But before that, not too long before that, before he follows him over there, there's a scene where Vision I can't remember who he shot at, but he misses.
He's shooting at Falcon and hits War Machine.
And he hits War Machine, and it drops him out of the air, and Tony thinks he dies. He thinks he's dying, and he gets mad about it, and he don't react to the Vision as he would Bucky. Now, the reason this is big is because he knows when Bucky did that, he was brainwashed by Hydra, and he don't care. He's like, he killed my mom, I'm going to kill him. Whenever Vision almost killed his friend, he's like, he don't care about it. He's like, he flies down, he gets help, and then he goes about his business. I'm like, why did you not try to, fight the Vision?
Well, and the thing is, did he see it, though? Because they were both going after the Quinjet. Falcon was behind them. Well, think about it. He really doesn't see it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And he blasts the Falcon, thinking that the Falcon done it.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
Yeah,
I always thought he just knew. He knew.
But another thing, talking about Tony, because Tony's one of the big characters in this movie, and we backed Tony Stark in this movie. We really did. We even in the comics, we were fans. Pro registration, and had someone come up, tell me, why would you side with Iron Man? And in Iron Man 2, he said that he would not turn the suit over to the government. The government's trying so hard to get, the Iron Man suit. Then they wound up with the War Machine suit. He's like, so all of a sudden, he wouldn't give it to the United States government, but he's going to do this. Well, in the movie, you find out, and I knew there would be a catch there, that Tony Stark signs on as a non-active duty combatant. He will not use the Iron Man suit to do anything that the UN is wanting to. And this also plays into his role with Pepper Potts, who's missing.
Yeah.
And he even says, he's hoping he can do this to make up for what happened at the end of Iron Man 3, where he got rid of the suits to where he's back to being Iron Man in Age of Ultron, and he's trying to repair his relationship with Pepper in this movie. And, he's hoping this is the first start to doing this. And then it even plays more on to where he gets the picture from the woman, I can't remember her name. She's supposed to be Miriam Sharp, in a sense. So, you really see his character things are starting to take its toll on his character, where he even talks about how much he enjoys it, but it's ruining everything around him. And you brought up something a while ago that I did not think about, and you believe this is equaling to what?
Tony Stark's alcoholism.
Coming back. Which, if he's wanting to do an Iron Man 4, and what would that movie be?
Yeah, it'd be him.
Demon in a Bottle.
Because you got the end theme where Rhodey's like, he's basically telling Iron Man, or Tony, he's like, look, this happened to me, but I signed those papers, I believe in those papers, and I'm going to keep those papers. So that basically tells you right there, he's still in. So by Tony losing Pepper, almost losing Rhodes, losing a Cap and a friend, losing everything, even though he's gained some stuff, but he's lost more than he's gained, you can see him going into an alcoholic role and stepping out because he's a non-combatant anyway. And then Rhodey steps into the armor. And it's going to happen.
So you think that Rhodey is eventually going to become Iron Man?
Yep.
Now you bring that up, talking about how Vision blasted Rhodey, how Stark reacted. Do you feel that Rhodey should have died there?
No. If you think about it, realistically, he probably should have died. He's inside this, when he gets out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's for one, he's thousands of feet in the air, and he's in the suit that when you hit it, it don't take damage. But
it took some damage.
That suit falls, free fall from the sky, just as if he was in any kind of airplane, and it hits the ground. That might not have killed him, but he would have been brain dead. It would have jarred his brain inside there. Unless the suit is made to hold, to comfort if you fall from that high. But I've never heard of any of the suits actually doing that.
And the Great, bringing real life physics into this review. What I was getting to from a story standpoint. Yeah. Do you think he should have died? Because in the comics we have Goliath who dies, and that really changes a lot of things for the characters in the book. So now that I've brought this up, yes, technically, yeah, he probably should have died.
Technically should have died. In the story, it would have. I don't believe he should have died because I think he's going to become Iron Man.
Obviously.
But not thinking that way, yeah, he should have died to get the Goliath effect.
Do you okay, so we agree there that he should have died.
Yeah.
For effect of the movie, to really put a emphasis on what the movie's about. So if not him, who would you rather had died?
Boy, that's a tough question. Because in the movie, in the comics, Goliath dies. And he ain't a big character, and he kind of comes in, he's helping out, and then...
And he's on Cap's side.
They make Ragnarok, which shoots a hole in him. And I'm thinking, Iron Man and them made him in the books. I really don't know who I would actually have die. Because Ant-Man's too big of a character, even though he would be a great one to do. If Giant Man would have got shot right there, somehow died.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But I would have been very disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, oh, they did it because he's big.
Well, yeah.
That's really. I don't want Rhodes to die, but he would have been a good one because he's probably the lesser of all the characters on here. Him or Hawkeye, and you can't really kill Hawkeye.
Well, I see. That's why I thought it should be Rhodes, because I think Hawkeye is the lesser, because I think Falcon has really built up a popularity. But even comic book fans are hardcore Hawkeye fans. A lot of them are. I don't care for Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Hero Man loves Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So, there is a big group of Hawkeye fans out there that are bigger than War Machine. I would even say Black Widow or Falcon, War Machine, whoever. So, I felt that someone needed to die to emphasize Civil War for this movie. Because that is really a turning point in the book. And it needed to be a turning point in the movie instead of just having him paralyzed.
Yeah.
One other thing we want to bring up is Black Widow. She's a double agent before the MCU starts, and in a sense of this movie, she continues to be a double agent.
Yep. She can't get her friends and her mission all on the same page because she has too many friends that are on both sides.
Yeah. And, and she's a soldier, so it's all about the mission, so she's very torn on what to do. And in a sense, she knows that she feels that she's on the right side.
Yeah.
But when she shoots Black Panther, she obviously knows that, hey, and then this is the way I see it is, if I don't let them go, none of this is going to be solved. That all this is for nothing. She really, being a spy one night, she realized there's something more to this. So You know, did she do the right thing? Because think about if she would have stopped them right there, knowing Black Panther was come up, Tony never would have went to the frenzy he went into.
I think
he would have caught Cap and Bucky, and they still would have found out what they found out anyways.
I think it would have been more interesting if she would have went with them on that plane.
See, that's what I was expecting the entire time, was them to go with them.
Because if she would have went with them, that's somebody else that probably could have stopped Tony from trying to murder him. I don't know. It would have been interesting to see her thoughts on how all that happens, because she's real close with Steve and Tony.
And Hawkeye, who is on Team Cap side. So the bigger question with that is, what do they do with her? Because her and Tony's talking about everything. Tony's like, hey, you know, T'Challa told Ross what you did. So she's already, you know, that's already treason because she's signed on.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning of the movie, when everything happens with chasing down Bucky and Cap going after him, Ross wants him and Falcon right there for treason. So you know the raft is in this movie.
Yeah.
So do they? That. Yeah. Well, that's what we're getting into here. So do they put her on the raft? What do they do with her? Because obviously it's treason. She's went off of what she said she was going to do. So what do you do with that character? And they're wanting to do a Black Widow movie.
What I think they're going to definitely do with the character is, since Captain America freed his guys at the end, she's going to go join Captain America, and they're going to be the Secret Avengers.
Okay, well, I mean, I know she's the super secret spy that she is, but I mean, you would assume that she gets arrested on the spot, or is that Steve, or is Tony, excuse me, realizing, hey, I understand why you done this. There's something to it, because they have that talk. So does he not say that does he just let her go there? Because you would assume that they're going to go arrest her at that moment.
Yeah.
As soon as Ross finds out.
Tony would try to he would let her go.
I think that he would too. One thing I want to bring up about her character before we go on is when Zemo gives the activation code for the Winter Soldier, and Tony, that's where you see Tony with the whole gauntlet thing, which I thought was really cool. Because in the movie you think that chick's going to shoot him, and he's like, whoa, 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 you know, so he kind of, and that's since I take it that's where he built that from.
Yeah.
But they're fighting the Winter Soldier and Sharon Carter, Agent 13. They're fighting like at the cafeteria, and Black Widow shows up, and he slams her on the table, and I swear she says, you know, do you at least recognize me? Something like that. So that made me think that was really strange, because if you go back to Winter Soldier, she's talking about him in the movie. Like, she knows who he is.
Yeah.
And throughout her world of espionage and spies, that it's almost like he's a myth.
Yeah.
So, and she says something to that effect, and it's really fast, you can't blame it, but I thought she said, do you at least recognize me? So that made me wonder, okay, cut back to Winter Soldier. She don't ever talk to him, because he's completely brainwashed through the whole movie, except for towards the end. And it's just him and Captain America fighting in the helicarrier. So she never really has a conversation with him. She fights him once with Cap. So I was thinking, why would she ask him that? So I'm wondering if maybe sometimes she trained with him under Hydra. Maybe she was on missions with him, because if I'm right, and that's what she says, and I'm pretty sure I thought that's what she said.
She's been on both sides.
Yeah, she has. So that's what I'm saying. Has she had missions with him before?
I bet she has.
So if you go rewatch that, pay attention to that. Because I watched it 3 times, and I swear, every time she says something to that effect.
She does say that.
Do you at least recognize me? Because he's not Bucky at that time. He is the Winter Soldier. So that made me wonder, has she done missions with him before? Maybe that's something you take that Black Widow movie towards. Like, maybe that's a flashback.
Yeah. Well, you take that. If that's the case and she was with him, that's another person that Tony is going to be mad at, because that means she probably knows he killed his parents too.
Oh. Well, I mean, she was clearly having part in that. But I mean, like they show where he trains the other Winter Soldiers, so I would assume that maybe he trained her as well.
Maybe she was going to be one. I don't know.
That's actually quite possible.
But man, speaking of Agent 13 with Sharon Carter, the funniest scene in the movie, they always have one comedy scene, and everybody loves it, and it's one of my favorite scenes. I'll never forget it. It's when her and Cap are over there, and they're all in the car.
They're getting the gear.
And he kisses her, and they're all like, "Oh yeah."
Oh man, okay.
I was like, "What in the hell?"
Everybody was laughing at that, and this is what's funny about that is, you take Steve and you take Bucky's relationship back in the 1930s,
yes.
right? Bucky, and you go back to the first Captain, he's the ladies, man, and no women will ever pay attention to Steve because he's a little shrimp. Yeah. So, you know, and Bucky was always trying to set him up. And so, and then you get now where Bucky doesn't know that he's Steve, and obviously up to this moment he does. And then there's a Falcon who knows what's going on with him and Sharon Carter and just waiting for that moment. So they both got that like, yeah, it's about time, you know. And I also love how they play up the bro relationship between Bucky and Cap and both of them. And then they kind of have that hate relationship with each other too, in a sense. I thought that was really funny because if you think about it, they're both Steve's friends from different eras, and through a lot of the movie, they're actually paired up.
Yeah.
So and that was really, really funny.
It was hilarious. So
another big question. We're talking about spies.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Nick Fury?
Yep.
You see him at the end of Winter Soldier. He was going underground. So where is he? If you go by the comics, he is underground at this point because he's starting to figure out about the Skrulls. And we know we're probably not getting Skrulls because Fox owns the Fantastic Four. Well, so I'm assuming they would own the Skrulls too. Yeah. So where is Nick Fury? What does Nick Fury do?
Here's what my prediction. I'll have these wild predictions all the time. In some internet I've read and kind of got me thinking, and then it got me thinking about Nick Fury. I'm like, I put two and two together. Zemo creates these other people like Winter Soldier, and then he shoots them all in the head when he gets there because I guess he can't get them to come back. And
he says he doesn't want them.
Yeah, he don't want them. So which leads me to think he was building this super spy unit of super soldiers. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, Zemo, super soldiers, and it started dawning upon me, Thunderbolts. And I think that putting Bucky in at the end, putting him away, he's going to recruit. Eventually, he's going to get out, and I think he's going to recruit Claw. And I think that Claw is going to get Bucky out. And I think that there's some documentation, there's something somewhere. Maybe it ain't Zemo. Maybe it's somebody else working higher than him. They're trying to put a Thunderbolts team together. Maybe not now, but because of the Sokovia Accords, maybe they knew they're coming, and they're going to pose as heroes. And maybe Nick Fury knows this, and he knows that since he's wanted, he's going to stay underground and build his own secret warriors. I don't know if all that's going to switch.
Okay, well, they're kind of getting the secret warriors thing going in S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
I just think that maybe he knows about these people, and he knows that they're trying to build a unit, and maybe that's why he's staying hidden. I don't know. There's something big. Every time Fury's not there, there's something big going on. He don't want nobody else to know what he's doing. Well, and if it ain't the Skrulls, I'm thinking, who could it be?
Oh, okay, that's a good point. But you got to think. Okay, for one, this movie gives a really good time frame of everything. They buy like years, and well, if I'm right, they've been looking for Bucky for like a year or two now. So that still would not be a reason for Nick Fury to go underground. Yeah. Because this happens way before all that.
And then they throw in all the Hydra stuff. You know, Hydra, they use the Mind Gem to create Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver that's making them super soldiers. Maybe there's something behind all this. Maybe there's somebody higher than all them people who's trying to put this unit together. And I just feel there's something behind all that. And maybe that's why Fury has not come out yet. I don't know.
Okay, well, you say that, and you know, if you ever read Civil War, there's a lot of tie-ins to Civil War.
Yes.
A lot of stuff that leads up to Civil War. There's an Illuminati book, New Avengers, and it's the road to Civil War. And Iron Man hears about that. He's the first guy to hear about this.
Yeah.
So at this time, you've got what happened in Avengers in New York, and you've got this situation. So maybe in Civil blah 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 in a Winter Soldier. So maybe while this is going on, he was getting word that this was happening. So maybe that's what caused him to go underground.
Yeah. Maybe he knew that was coming, and he knew he need to get underground to make some bunkers, make some room for some of these guys he knows that wouldn't sign that thing.
Or maybe he's preparing knowing that it would drive the wedge between, you know, knowing that Cap would not do something like that.
Yeah.
To almost give them a base of operations, because he's not there, and the question is, when does he return? Like I said,
this is the first time I haven't seen no Fury in a long time.
Exactly. He's been almost like in every movie to a sense, probably besides the Thor movies.
Yeah.
And maybe the Hulk movie. That's one question they bring up. Where is Thor and where is Hulk? Which we all know they're going to be in Ragnarok, which I can't wait for.
So I guess in the Ragnarok story, since we're on it, in the books, the Hulk gets on a ship, the Illuminati put him on there, and they fly him, and he busts, and the ones that get on their planet.
Planet Hulk.
This... He's in a ship and he's flying away. Maybe he lands on Asgard. I don't know how that's possible.
No.
Or maybe he lands on...
Well, they show the planet. They show where the ship crashes in Age of Ultron.
I didn't know the show where it crashed. Well, wherever it crashed, maybe there's somehow he gets teleported there somehow.
Yeah, Black Widow talks about how that he's there.
Yeah. So somehow maybe he figured that crash landing wanted to eventually put him on Asgard because he's going to be on there.
I've got my...
Or maybe Loki knows where he's at and he goes there and mind controls him and brings him back.
That's what I think's going to happen.
Yeah.
But let's not get into another movie that's not till over a year and a half away. The biggest thing we wanted to bring up, talking about this, is power levels.
Yep.
And to me, when you see them charging at the airport scene, you've got Team CGI versus Team Practical Effects. Did you think about it like that?
No, not you said
but
that.
But if you think about it, Black Widow is the only person in that scene for Team Stark that is not CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, even Spider-Man looks heavily CGI.
And I guess on the other side, Ant-Man's the only one that's not...
Oh, no, not even really when they're running, he's not.
No, nobody.
The only one that, yeah, well, I mean, you know, the only time you see that they're not practical is when Scarlet Witch goes flying in the air.
Yeah.
But, great fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it showcased everybody's abilities and strengths during the fight.
Yep.
It was awesome. But that right there is a problem. We kind of brought this up as we were setting up the review. Is technically, you look at that group besides Scarlet Witch, Iron Man should have destroyed them by himself.
Yeah.
And you're probably like, oh, okay, well, no, they're on equal ground. No. This, what Iron Man suit would you say this is by now?
Oh, God.
This is like the 50th model or something. You look at Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, the third model he builds, when he goes over there, he gets shot out of the ground by a tank. I'm glad I thought about this. He gets shot out of the ground by a tank, gets up. He was fine, but Rhodes wasn't.
Yeah.
and you know, so, I mean, was it, I mean, you could say he was the blast from Mind Gym.
Yeah.
But still, he gets hit by a tank, falls to the ground. Gets up like it ain't nothing. He's got some scorch marks on him, blows the tank up. But yet, he's getting thrown around by Captain America. Makes no sense.
And then at the end of the movie, the same suit, he tells Zemo that his blasts are how much more powerful than the ones
yeah, exactly. But yet, Tony's I mean, and they give them the advantage of a closed area at the end of the movie. But like,
it's just all the weaponry that Tony has access to. The way they did the comics is he got tricked. Cap put a thing on him and locked his suit out. Without that, I'm like, come on. They tried to make it work without that. That's the only thing they dropped the ball on was a lot of Captain America or Iron Man stuff whenever Iron Man was depowered in certain ways. I'm like, no.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, okay, I understand. And it's not so much in that fight at the airport. It's the last fight that just gets me because Tony's suit, for years now, it doesn't matter which model it is, has been able to take massive damage. And
he flew through an alien space the machine that's flying in Avengers.
I mean, yeah, just
that suit flew through
just to show you. I mean, what his suits are capable of.
So he could fly through a human being.
And they, like I said, they give them the advantage of close quarters. And Cap's welling on him, and then like at the end where he knocks his helmet off, he's bleeding. Why would he be bleeding if he can take a shot from a tank, but he can't take a shot from Captain America? I don't care if it's the shield or his fist. That shouldn't happen. And eventually, over time, Cap welling on him has got to like break his hand.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that does not add up.
Yeah. And speaking of Iron Man, a person at work asked me, how does Captain America not break his hand hitting Iron Man in a metal helmet over 100, 200 times?
Well, like I said, you know, that helmet is meant to absorb impact. Like I said, he got hit with a tank. And if I'm right, it's like in his chest, because he even got scorch marks and stuff on his face in that first movie. So, I mean, it literally makes no sense. Now I can see where, oh, he's keeping him on his feet, but taking shots like that really shouldn't even stagger him from Captain America. I can understand being staggered from the shield, but, I mean, even, you know, it should be enough to hurt him. And then, even what also bothers me with that whole thing is the strength that the suit gives him compared to the strength Bucky's arm gives him. Yeah. Even in the movie. They play it like they're even, but yet when Bucky punches Spider-Man and Spider-Man catches his fist, Spider-Man literally turns his arm over, like hold it back, and he's just mesmerized at it. So that would literally like signify that Spider-Man is stronger than Iron Man, Winter Soldier, and Captain America in that sense. So I mean, the power level thing, they play it up, and it's just really off in a sense. And then even like when we were talking about Scarlet Witch, Vision, where she was like, I brought it to you, where it's like, it looks like she's controlling the mind gem. Why didn't she just do that when they were fighting the Vision in the first place? Yeah. You know, because that happened before the fight at the airport. So, like, that is my biggest problem with the movie, is to play on power levels. And, you know, and that is the biggest thing that's also in the comics, because, you know, Iron Man's got all the big guns compared to Steven.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that's the biggest thing in the movie that really irks me, is just the power levels of everybody.
Because there's that one point in the movie, or towards the end, where I think they dropped the ball at the end of the movie a little bit. Tony is like, he accesses a power level, and he goes up, and then he goes to fist fighting Captain America. I don't know exactly what he says to make.
Oh, where he has Friday read his moves, and he starts fighting him based on his tactics.
And I'm like,
why didn't you do that sooner?
He would have did it sooner. And in the comics, spoiler alert, when he goes 100% punching somebody, he can knock out a Hulk with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, and they are superhuman. He would have knocked, if he would have hit, if he was in a rage. If he would have hit Bucky, he would have ripped his arm off for the first shot.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if he would have punched one of them, they'd turn into a fine red mist.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, and then like it's just the way they downplay Iron Man in the movie, like with Falcon and him. Like for one, they make Falcon seem like they're as fast as Iron Man and War Machine with his wings, but yet in the first Iron Man movie, like I said, this is the third version of the Iron Man armor. He's like outracing jets at like hypersonic speed or other crap.
When the Falcon's turning, he's spinning and everything, I'm like, no. The Iron Man suit at first couldn't do it, but by the time the Avengers came around, my God, his suit could do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it was so advanced. Like, he should have literally been able to take them out. And what also bothers me about the Falcon compared to Iron Man and them, he knocks him out of flight with Red Wing.
Yeah.
Because they're charging at each other, and then, like, you don't expect it. And it's also funny, though. But, like, Red Wing shoots out of his pack, hits him right in the forehead, and then Tony goes spinning. And in comics, none of that would ever happen. And it shouldn't even happen in this movie. Like I said, he gets shot by a fucking tank.
Yeah.
You know, but yet, being hit with Red Ring knocks him out.
Like I said, this movie is excellent, except for the few points they drop the ball. And almost every time it was when the Iron Man and power level.
Yeah, they downplay Iron Man so much because they want you to root for Cap. And I don't think it should be like that. Because there's no wrong side to choose like we've talked about in the comics. Like, no one is wrong in this. It's just a matter of opinion. But they downplay Iron Man so much in all this. And I think it's really bad to do to the character who literally started this franchise.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. They shouldn't have done him like... They should have went with the whole tactic of them taking his power off, like, with a device.
Yeah, exactly. They should use some tech.
But by doing it like that, you just make... I mean, you're making them to be bigger than what they are. And then when you got Spider-Man catch people's arms, but then you got Captain America who can, you know, outmaneuver Spider-Man, I'm like... They gotta slow it down a little bit.
Well, you know, in a way, they kind of went for his tech, how they shrunk Giant Man down. Who I thought, honestly, they showcased the best out of people in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where he shrunk down and was, like, in the armor.
That was so cool.
And then, like, fans knew it was going to happen. Fans knew he was going to turn into Giant Man. And then they played by turning him into Giant Man. And he's taking everybody by himself, you know.
In many ways... He saved Captain America.
Yeah, exactly.
on that side of base.
Yeah, he really did.
Because of what he could do.
So, now that we've talked a lot about the movie, and basically the characters, like I said, it's a very character-driven movie, you know, in the comics, you know, we were Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of this movie, we were Team Stark. But now that the movie's over, and you can say there are no more Civil Wars in the movies, even though Civil War II is coming out in the comics as we speak, did this movie change your opinion by the time it was over?
On movie in general, but in the comics, at the end of the regular Civil War, when Peter Parker gets Aunt May, when she dies, is when I said, I'm on the wrong side of things. But, movie-wise, I am Team Iron Man through and through.
I am too. Because even in the end, I mean...
I understand what the others are doing. I don't agree with everything that the Sokovia Accords are. But in real life situation, that's what they try to do with these movies. This is what they would want to have.
And if you put yourself in this world, if you have a family, kids, wife, it doesn't matter if it's your mom, like you mentioned Aunt May being shot, and then, you know, after Civil War and whatnot, you put yourself in those shoes. Do you really want a well, I wouldn't call them a rat gag, but some superheroes that are not being held to responsibility for actions and deaths that they cause? Or do you really want someone that you know that's going to be there to protect you? And like you, I still stay on the side of Tony Stark.
Believe me, like if somebody's attacking me, like Iron Man created Ultron, and they have to come together to stop him, yes, I want superheroes to come together to stop him. I look at it like that, and then I flip it around, I'm like, alright, but also I want them to have some type of registry, but not this severe. That's the only thing I have wrong with the Accords or the Registration Act, or whatever you want to call it, is it's too bearing on the superhero. That's the part I don't agree with it, but if you made me pick, I would pick that side, even though I don't agree with a lot of it, and I understand what the other side still want to be heroes, they want to be at freedom. I agree with that, but if I had to pick, I would always lean towards the Accords.
And here's the thing, I mean, you know, you talk about, you know, that they're too bearing, but really you don't see what is going to come out of it either. And, you know, and you're kind of left that at the end of the movie because Cap rescues his guys from the raft. Tony still has his guys. So, you've got two sets of Avengers.
Yeah.
You don't have an Avengers movie coming out until the first part of Infinity Wars, which they've already announced that they're going to change those titles from Part 1 to Part 2 to something else.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? None of these guys are slated for a movie until then. So what do you do with these two groups of guys?
Well, you got Tony, who's going to be in the Spider-Man movies, apparently.
I think so is Cap.
And I heard a long time ago that Cap was. So possibly these two are going to be in that movie with Spidey, which is almost too much. And you got these other characters that are going to be in movies, which is, you know, the Black Panther's going to have his own movie. But what are you going to do with other characters like Ant-Man? Are they going to do an Ant-Man 2 before Avengers?
They're doing Ant-Man and Wasp.
Because I know they're doing that. So you got him, you know, he's going to be doing something. And then you got Guardians of the Galaxy. Are they going to pull any of these characters and put them in that? Which the only one I can actually see would be Iron Man.
Well, here's what I think they're going to do. They've got these two Avengers movies, Part 1, Part 2, which they say they're going to change the titles of them.
Yeah.
I think that what you're going to get is you'll get one of these movies is going to be Tony's side, and one of these movies be Cap's side. And I don't think this Infinity Wars is going to be the end of that. And then because there's 3 unnamed movies so far after this. Then I think you're going to see where they come together to fight Thanos. Almost in a sense, if you've read Infinity by Marvel, not Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade, Infinity Abyss, there's a book come out about 3 years ago called Infinity, and it's about Thanos coming to Earth, trying to appease death, and all he's after is his one son that he can't find. But he wages war on the Earth while he's doing it. And that's what I kind of see this Infinity War leading up to. And then I can see where one movie is about the Infinity Gauntlet after both of these Infinity War movies.
Yeah.
Like I said, one movie's about Tony's team, one movie's about Cap's team. They realize they need to come together. Tony makes that phone call, and then they all come together and fight Thanos.
I like it. My prediction is way different, but I like yours. if I had to guess, what Evan the great fanboy inside wants is you got this Thor movie coming out, and the Hulk is going to be in it. Loki's going to brainwash him. I'm sure that's what the hell is going to happen. He's going to fight Thor, and then they're going to figure. Then they're probably going to put the Hulk on a planet. I think Thor and him's going to do it. Using the Rainbow Bridge teleporter, they're going to do something. Put him on a planet, but he ain't going to know because he's the Hulk. Once he finds out, he's going to think that, you know, these people set me up. He's going to come back to Earth. I would love to see a World War Hulk, maybe in these unnamed movies, happen to where he comes back, and then he fights them, and then they come together to fight the Hulk, and maybe that's when Thanos is going to show up in part 2. I don't know.
Or with that,
so much stuff going on.
Maybe he gets lost over because obviously
I would love to see him maybe come back as a savior too. Like they're getting their ass kicked, and the Hulk has been somewhere where he's become badass. Like in Planet Hulk, he becomes badass and he comes back down. But it ain't to come down to strike us; it's to come down to help us fight Thanos.
See, I can see that because to play on that, because obviously the Asgardians know of space and whatnot because they need the Collector.
Yeah.
And they end up Thor because they take him the ether, which turns out to be like the reality gem. So I can see where sometime during this Ragnarok film, because Thor's going to be there, like someone banishes him off into another planet. You do a Planet Hulk movie. Maybe he's found by the Guardians, and the Guardians are on their way to Earth because they know Thanos is going there. They bring the Hulk with them.
That would be cool. And there's rumors flying around of Beta Ray Bill and Thor.
I hope so. They need.
I'm just thinking of all this.
Especially if they're going to kill him in that story.
What if they do all this stuff where they got Beta Ray Bill and they got the Thor and they got the Hulk and they mix it all up with this Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's the squad that comes in and saves their ass when Thanos is here?
It could be. But we're the villains, man. Justin Von Doom. He's Evan the Great. With our review of Civil War, we've reviewed the comic. You can watch that. During the Secret Wars event of 2015, they did a Civil War almost what-if book that takes place directly years after the original Civil War event. So if you want to kind of see what if could happen, you can check that out. Evan the Great's brought up Thor Ragnarok a couple times. We've reviewed that. You can watch that as well. And you can like us on Facebook, send us some tweets on Twitter, watch all our videos on YouTube, spread the word around. Keep reading, guys.